we're going to be looking at restrictions, groups, and how to use overrides on different assignments and quizzes in your course. So there's a couple reasons why you may be using these. One, it could be that you have students that are going to have accommodations through disability services. And so, for instance, here we have a couple of quizzes. And some of the accommodations are that they are allotted time and a half or double time. So there might be some restrictions, not restrictions, but overrides that would allow you to give additional access to certain students. Additional options could be that you are teaching multiple sections of the same course and you're using a combined course. You could have it so you could have an override. So a quiz opens only for one group, so you would be using groups to lump those students together in advance. So I'll show you that. Other times it might just be that you want to have, for instance, you might have a forum and it's specific to a group that is working on a particular project. And they want to have a semi-private area so the rest of the class isn't looking at their own discussion board, but you could use that as well. So these are a couple different scenarios where you might be using either a full restriction, meaning that no one else other than these couple people can access something, but there also might be ones that you just create one particular assignment or quiz and then add additional overrides to grant different types of access time or to a certain person. So let's just start at the beginning. We're going to come up here to the gear. We're going to click turn editing on. And so for instance, I have set up some overrides on this particular quiz. I'm going to click on it. Now the key here is that it doesn't necessarily show on this view that we have overrides. It shows what the initial attempt timing is, and then I can come up here. And at the top, we do have two different kinds of overrides. We have group overrides and we have user overrides. So on group, I do have two different groups set up. So in this one says that forum group 1, the quiz is going to open on the 12th. It's going to close on the 14th. And it says the attempts. So you can even get to that granular level and say that, maybe we would give you 2 attempts for a particular group. Something like that. I can come in here and I can click edit. I can adjust the time limit on it. So since it's a quiz, again, I could change this to time and a half or double time for this particular group. So if you had multiple students within your course that have accommodations and they are the same type of accommodations, so like I said, some of them might be double time or time and a half, so you would have to ensure that they're allotted the correct amount of time. And then you could enable that and say, if it was originally a 30-minute test, now they get 45 or they get 60 minutes. This quiz in particular didn't have any sort of timing on it. So again, if you have students with accommodations and there was no timing to begin with, that doesn't really matter then because there's no constraints. I can hit save and I could hit enter another override, or I'm just going to hit save. Again, it takes me back here to just show the different group overrides that I have. I can go back to the main quiz. So again, I'm using my breadcrumbs up here just to get back. And then I can look at direct user overrides. So this could just be, again, for a specific student. And so in this case, I'm going to open it up on June 15th and give it 24 hours and then close it. So just to show you what that looks like for the student, I'm logged in as this person. And so in this case, now this was an example test and we've already played around with this and this quiz was attempted prior, but what we're doing is we're reopening it. And so when that student comes and clicks on the quiz, it says the quiz will not be available until Monday, June 15th at 2:28 and it will close the next day at 2:28. So you can see that how you set it up here is reflected directly in what the students will have access to. So I'm going to go back to the front page here. So like I said, this one does have additional restrictions, but from this view as a faculty member, you don't have immediate recognition to see that this one has been adapted a little bit more. So those are not as apparent, but I mean, as you're managing your own course, you will obviously remember which items you have made additional comments and things on. As I come down here, we can get to these assignments, and you can see this is a little bit different though. You can see that we have a couple different restrictions on the two lower assignments here. So one just quickly says that we are only allowing this particular group to even access this assignment. So whoever's in Forum Group 1 will have access to assignment 2, but no one else in the course would. This other assignment restriction is related to our activity completion. So that just allows you to restrict access for the entire course, all students, until they complete something else. So that just requires it so that everything is done in sequence. They don't accidentally go to assignment 3, finish that, and then come back, because you're likely building upon the knowledge base that you have gained from the previous assignments. So I'm just going to go into edit settings on this one. And as I scroll down here, we have restrict access, and that's where I added that in. So I had added a new restriction. I could even add more, but at this point it would be redundant to add an additional one. But a student must match the following, and it must be a group in this case, group forum, forum 1 group. If I wanted to add a different one, I could add it, prevent access until or from a specific date or time. I mean, we're using that anyway for the most part with our timing. Group could be a user profile again, so if I wanted it to be a particular person, I could restrict that access. And then I do have, my activity completion, so I could say we can't move past this until you take quiz 2. In this case, I don't really need that one. But you can see that you can add multiple layers of restrictions. Likely we won't need that, so we likely will just use this, or let me just hit save and return to course. Or just like I showed before, that you can restrict access at the item level by going in and going to, or using the override option. You can do this. Let me do this here. On assignment, same thing. So it's not just for quizzes. You can also do overrides for assignments. So maybe, some of your students needed additional time to get something completed, but you wanted to have it locked down for everyone else. So those are different options. Different scenarios and reasons why you may want to use any of those different options. And I'll just go back and quickly show how you do set up those groups. Like I said, it is in the full participants video. You can either click on participants here and then click on the gear, and it does give you groups. The other option, just so you know, oops, go back a second. Under the gear up here, if we go to more, it gives us course administration, and those are users there as well. So it takes you to the same place either way. And so under groups, it shows that I have 5 people in group, the Forum 1 group, and under group 2, I only have 1 person. I can create new groups, add and delete groups or people that are within them, but sometimes having these organized in advance makes those restrictions and overrides easier to implement, so you're not having to run back.